Hi. So for my leadership interview that I did this semester, I actually had the opportunity to interview my previous manager when I interned at Cisco Systems, and that was very exciting. The reason why I picked him was because he was a great leader. He was a great manager as well. He was also a great friend, and he definitely knew how to make me not only work for Cisco, my company that I was working for, but also in a way work for him. And I think my dad has worked in sales for all his life, and he's always told me it's not the company you work for, it's the person you work for. And I think that's what made me want to interview him so much. So I think my perception of him during the interview, he's a very genuine person. I know all of his accomplishments because other people have told me of his accomplishments, not because he has told me himself, but the advice, the wisdom that he always gives, definitely is something that makes you think of, what has he gone through, what has he learned from it, who has he met, that he has all this knowledge and he's always willing to share anything. And I think that's what made him such a great leader in my case, just because I think I had a hard time sometimes not knowing how to ask, or asking and then not receiving the right information, right? So I think if I ever had a problem or ever I had any issue when I was interning, he was always there making sure that I learned something, that anything I did was valuable, that especially that I learned what I wanted to learn or what would help me grow in my profession, in my career. Some key characteristics during the interview. Really, what I asked him during the interview was what got him to this position. Number one, which was like one of the basic questions. But number two, I asked him, what does he consider leadership to be? What does he consider are his greatest qualities as a leader? And in some questions, I think it was funny because in some questions he would say, I'm not really sure, how I'm a great leader. But then he would tell me stories about different things he's done, and I basically pulled out some information. I was just thinking a couple things, very genuine characteristic. He's very honest, very front, face forward person. He really doesn't beat around the bush, but he doesn't hurt feelings, which is like kind of like, I think as a leader it's a kind of like a hard limbo to be between, to be very honest but also not hurt people's feelings. So for me, that's what I got from him. Very honest, very genuine, very trustworthy, very knowledgeable. And he had the experience. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, that's what I think I lack when I enter a workforce. But I definitely try to repay it with my energy, with my enthusiasm, with my willingness to learn. And he saw that in me, and he definitely helped me. And he was very, I would say, fun. It was very fun in the process, learning from someone that had so much information, that just wanted me to learn everything from him. And then my perception from my manager after my interview, I think after working under him for 3 months during the summer, I was amazed at the type of person that he was. He also had a family, had 4 kids, had a wife, still worked 40 hours a week. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do that, but a lot of people are not a great leader. And he always motivated everyone, always got my team to go out for lunch together every Friday, always made sure everyone was on top of their tasks, but also made sure everyone's personal life. In some sense, after the interview, this time around, I think I haven't, talked. I try to keep up with him, once a month, but sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up, and also having school and also trying to pursue a new internship. So I think after this interview, I noticed that he really wanted me to grow. I noticed that he really wanted me to learn. I was very surprised that all the things that he remembered that I told him, number one, right now I'm doing a combined degree program, and he remembered and he asked me how it was going and if I got accepted. I think those key things as a leader is what makes someone what makes someone feel that they're valued by their leader. I think he did a very very well job in that. And then some key statements that he made that I just wrote down when I was interviewing him. He told me, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Make sure you're using them wisely. Make sure you're actively listening." And I think that was one of his main key points. He always mentioned, make sure you're active listening. I was like, yeah, I'm always listening. And he was like, no, like, you need to not only hear, you need to listen. So don't only listen. Don't only hear, listen. Make sure you're always listening. And what he meant by that was, when you're listening, you're aware. When you're hearing, you're just letting noise go in through your ear. And I asked him this in the interview. I was like, what makes you so successful as a leader? And he said, finally at the end of it, he was like, I'm actively listening to everything, my surroundings, to everyone that's around me tells me. And for this, I always try to take that feedback, or I always try to take anything I'm listening and try to make a positive out of it. I was very impressed with the interview. I think I learned something about leadership that I think I considered. I think I also read this a lot in the book, of just like making sure you're aware of your surroundings, but also making sure you're aware of yourself. He mentioned like emotional intelligence and how important it is to self-reflect. And I think for me right now, trying to juggle all these things, but not really in the real world, as I call it, not really having a full time yet, made me aware of I come first, but also in general. I mean, my team does come first, but I come first. And in order for my team to succeed, I need to succeed as well. I need to, motivate them and show them. And that's what he told me. So that was exciting.